Okay, this is round two of the SunTrack. I did apply the corrections. I just want you to see exactly what I'm doing from step one. Uh, as you'll notice, I won't have to force anything or jump through any hoops with this configuration. So really, all I have to do is open the SunTrack, which I actually already have open on the screen at the moment. I can see that these are my current offsets that I have in there, and we're at the limit on elevation here. This tells me that either if we have to go any more negative, we're going to have to readjust homing sensor or in the lower limit, one or combination of both. But anyway, let's get started on the SunTrack. So all I'm going to do is just simply hit start. Edge is then going to configure uh, to do the SunTrack, and you'll see it immediately starts taking the data. At the moment, it's we're showing the error, of course, because we're not in the center of the display here. So we're just going to let it go through one here and see what we get. You'll notice that the signal level is actually pretty low too. Uh, with X bands, this signal level is always lower than on the S or C bands, which makes it just a little harder to dial in. But as you can see, it's starting to come up. It also looks like the antenna response here is a little, it's not super smooth, but I'm just judging from what I can see remotely. I really have to look at this, and we'll look at this when I come in just a little while. I just wanted to make sure I got a couple of sun tracks in before we lost the capability to actually see the sun. From what I gather, these systems are sort of in an area where shade will actually become an issue mid-afternoon. It's pretty obvious to me that in X-band we're having with these smaller dishes. This is pretty difficult to get a good signal. But we shouldn't be super discouraged by that. At least this gets us really, 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 really close, and once you are really, really close, then you can always use landmark information to further confirm that your orientation is correct. And as I said before, I haven't actually been outside yet, but assuming that it's supposed to rain later this evening, early this morning, um, I'm guessing it's a little bit overcast. Certainly not a beautiful soundtrack by any stretch of the imagination, but assuming nothing moves, we're right on the money for elevation, zero error. Azimuth is slightly off a bit, zero point 0.4 degrees. Now we could probably, tweak around with the bandwidth selections and see if we can find one that works a little bit better than what we're using right now. We're using typically on a system when we default to the p width 0, it's usually 0.4, which means the bandwidth on that particular pulse width is going to be 2 megahertz or more. Um, for the 2 microsecond, the default bandwidth is going to be what would it be, 0.5 megahertz, I believe. So yeah, we could certainly experiment with different bandwidth settings for 2 microseconds to see if we get better results in a SunTrack. Also keep in mind that these bandwidth settings that we're doing within the Edge GUI are actually overridden by the bandwidth settings that are in the pulse files for a Ranger type system. So this is could be an issue as well. Okay, so as you can see, we finished up SunTrack. We're not dead center here. We're not dead center here, so that reflects here, showing that we're exactly correct in elevation, which is good because we can't go any more negative. But we're just slightly off in asthma by point 0.4, which is not very much. I'm going to go ahead and apply these corrections. And I'm going to stop the video before it gets really long, and I'll run another one.